So this is, I want to do a quick intro video to another testimony that I got. I haven't been able to do any videos lately. I got sick and I lost my voice. But I'm back and my voice still a little messed up, but let's do this. My plan is to pump out at least one video a week. But we're going to start with this testimony. So this one is a little different, a little special now. Let me see, what am I trying to tell you guys? Let me get my thoughts together. You know, I like to shoot from the hip. But so Josh, the guy's name is Josh. He is part of the LGBT community, but he loves Jesus. Now the reason I'm doing an intro video to this is because I know that topic is, the whole LGBT thing is very sensitive right now, especially in this country, especially in the West, because it's being shoved down our throats, pushed on kids. It's pretty messed up, right? And I'm not, I speak out against that a lot. But at the same time, as a Christian man, as a follower of Christ, we're supposed to love each other. And I love Brother Josh. And I was very honest with him. And I want people to listen to this testimony and pay attention to what he says. I believe there's hope for Josh. When I say I believe there's hope for Josh, I think he could come out of that lifestyle. Okay? Now, he says a couple of things in this testimony. I'm breaking it up into two parts. He says a couple of things that made me think that. Let's see if you guys can catch on to it. If you guys can, in the comments, try to tell me what you think I heard that makes me believe he can come out of this lifestyle. So, you know, my stance on the whole LGBT thing is, it's a sin, obviously, right? I'm not one of these twist the scriptures type of thing. I take the scriptures for what they're for. I know the culture has twisted and confused people's minds. Forget all that crap. I know Jesus is the truth, the way, and the life. He's very clear on what sin is. And homosexuality is definitely a sin. But my position on it is, right now it's a sensitive topic because of what's happening in the culture to kids, all this stuff, the transformer thing. It's evil, it's demonic. And I'm actually going to talk about that at length in a future video. But it's a sexual sin. And as far as I know, all sin is disgusting to God. Now, there's some sin that's unforgivable. Like if you blaspheme the Holy Spirit, God won't forgive you. But outside of that, sexual sin is a problem. Just like if I'm straight, you know, I've never had any same-sex attraction and stuff. But before my wife, I was a bad boy. I had a lot of experiences with a lot of women. I look back on that now, and it kind of hurts my heart. God's convicted my heart. And I would never want my sons to go down that path. And I've talked to them about this. I want them to wait for marriage. If they do, I don't know. Because I understand what it's like to be young and horny. I was a young, horny dude. But sexual sin is a problem. If I were to have continued on that path of being a man whore, it could have led to so much destruction. So many kids would have been born out of wedlock to women that I didn't even care about. I wouldn't have been able to have a relationship with these women. And my kids would have been left bastards. And we already know statistics. Kids without fathers in the home cause problems. You know, the majority of criminals, male prisoners, something like 80% of guys in prison didn't have a father in their home. You know what I mean? So sexual sin is very, very problematic. It's destructive. Jesus was clear. We're supposed to refrain from having sex until we get married. I know it's very hard, but that's the what am I saying? That's the standard, right? Now, when it comes to Josh, he's gay. He knows it's a sin, and it's easy to pick on him because this sin is being shoved down our faces. With the red pill movement, you know, being a player has been more accepted, which I think is wrong. And the gay thing is really made a lot of us Christian guys jaded. But I want to give a different perspective where sexual sin is a problem. Whether you're straight, gay, it doesn't matter. Sexual sin, I think, is one of the biggest problems in our culture. And we need to listen to Brother Josh. And as Christians, we need to be graceful with him, love him, understand. But I don't want to give that testimony away. Understand that he gets that it's a sin. And if we love him and if we listen to him, if we give him a place, he can come out of it. Now, I know I just said a lot, but so that's the point of this intro video. I said before in another video, I'll talk to anybody. Everybody's in a different walk with Christ. I don't think I'm a great Christian leader. I got a lot of flaws. I'm trying to be a better follower. We'll never We'll never be perfect, but we got to keep on striving to become better. Josh is definitely on a journey. So I ask you guys to send him some love. I plan on doing a part 2 with him. I want to have more of a, not a debate, but a conversation about sexual sin. And I want to share some of my theology with him that I think will help him greatly. So I'm going to have him back on. He wants to come back on eventually. I know he's going to listen to this intro because he's going to watch his testimony. And I'm aware of that. Josh, I think I can help you through God and through understanding the scriptures and who Jesus Christ is. I think I can help you with the help of the Holy Spirit, pull you out of that lifestyle. I honestly believe, Josh, you can probably be a husband and a father one day to a woman, believe it or not. That's how much faith I have in Jesus Christ and his plan for you. So yeah, this 2-part video. Part 1 is about 40 minutes long. Part 2 is about an hour and 20 minutes. I hope you guys enjoy it. Send Josh some love. And again, I want you guys to put in the comments, like this video, share it, and comment what you think I heard Josh say that makes me believe he could come out of this lifestyle. Okay? Shoot, aloha. Now, okay, everybody. So here we go again with another testimony. This is my friend Josh Ruiz, right? Oh, I think you're frozen, Josh. There it goes.
Oh, no. I was laughing.
You're unfrozen. So Josh here, we met through work. Josh loves Jesus Christ. He's got a heck of a story. He gave me a little bit of it. Now, typically what I like to do is kind of hear a summary of people's stories, and then I'll sit and I'll pray, and I think, what are some good questions I can ask this person that can kind of, you know, we can all pull lessons from somebody's life story, right? But your story is so, I don't want to say crazy because that doesn't sound good, but your story is so, it's like a movie. I'm like, you know what? I just got to let you do your thing. I'll ask you like maybe 1 or 2 questions at the end that I already talked to you about. And yeah, I mean, I'll just let you go. And if I need clarification along the way, I'll interrupt you. I love to talk, man. I was in sales for a long time. My wife is the one that, she came with me before when we had my old business. And I'd be doing, you know, visiting my accounts. And I'm talking, and my wife told me, babe, you got to let them talk. I'm like, what do you mean? So I'm learning to let people talk. So, okay, we want to start. This is typically we do 3 parts, right? When I talk to people, I give them this kind of template. When you know, when we were all kids at one point, right? And when we're kids, we're pretty innocent. Typically, things don't really. Something happens during childhood. Not for everybody, but some people have some trauma in childhood, which leads them to kind of rebelliousness during their adolescence. And then, since we're talking to people who love Jesus, at some point during their early adult life, they meet Jesus. So it's kind of like 3 chapters. But yours is probably 5. You know, I think for you, I just, you know, if you just want to start as far back as you can remember and, you know, talk about the things you went through, because the more you share, I mean, you share as much as you want to share. You know, whatever you feel comfortable with, go ahead. But the more of your story you can share with people, the more they can connect to it. And, you know, you came to Christ, right? So if somebody went through something similar like you did, and they don't know who Christ is, maybe they can be like, whoa, his story sounds like mine. I gotta call upon Christ. Let me try to learn who Jesus is, right? So that's the whole point. We want to glorify God through your story. So with that, go ahead, brother.
Okay. Oh, man. All right. Let's see. Start off with the early beginning. As far back as I could remember, I'd say some of my earliest memories would be, I was in foster care. I lived in San Antonio. It was me and my brother, actually. We had a really, I mean, to me, when I think about it, I'm like, oh, that sounds like a nice foster home, because we had a cool bed. It was a race car bed. It was upstairs, downstairs home. We lived, I guess, not too far from our siblings, so we always had visits.
Around what age do you think this was?
It had to have been about 3 or 4. In a lot of my earlier years, from before then, I didn't learn until when I was maybe 16, and then most recently, this year, about a lot of stuff. So I got adopted at the age of 4 out of that foster home I was in. It was the out-of-state adoption. Um, we moved from San Antonio to Indiana, and I remember meeting this lady. She was gorgeous, beautiful. Like, I don't know how tall women were supposed to be, but back then she was just gorgeous, tall, Goldilocks hair, like blonde, gold, beautiful. And we moved to Indiana. I remember she came down to visit us like twice, and then the next thing you know, all our clothes were packed up in trash bags, and we were moving. Everybody, me, my little brother, my big brother, my big sister, and then my half sister. Now, the crazy part about all this from my adoption is I never really had a lot of memories of my big brother and my big sister being there. I just remember there ever being three of us, and on occasion, sometimes four or five. But it was more so like they visited us or was there for the weekend. I actually was talking with my sister and I told her, I don't remember you ever living with us. She was like, Josh, we have the same memories. Like, I remember this. And I was like, you were there? Like, that's how much I don't remember them being with us. And the out-of-state adoption, I guess we moved to Indiana. We were there for about 3 or 4 years. No, the adoption was 4 years long. So we were there for about a year or two. We ended up moving back to Houston for whatever reason. And my adopted mom, she got caught prostituting herself. She was packed up, put in jail. And I remember we were living near Channelview, a nice little rundown house. I mean, we moved around a lot. She had a lot of boyfriends. She was an alcoholic. Remember she got caught one time writing a hot check. I mean, you're old enough to remember what a check is.
Yeah.
I had no idea what a hot check meant until I was like older. I was like, oh, that's what she was doing. Okay. Spending money you don't have. That's what credit cards are for nowadays. So I remember that was the pivotal point of my childhood, from the abuse we encountered with her. She had multiple boyfriends, and a lot of them weren't always the nicest. She had a husband at one point who abused my sister, and so he ended up going to prison. And that's when she became a single mom of, was it me, Haley, Danny, and then her two biological kids. So technically 5 kids that I know was their majority, because I know at some point my sister and my big brother ended up leaving to go back to San Antonio. I don't know how that adoption thing worked. Because I don't know. I know once you adopt a kid, you can't technically give them back, but in that sense, it kind of was like they got given back. And that started my journey of moving from foster home to foster home, experiencing what the system really is like. You see all these people with I say perfect families in the sense of it's a household setting of mom, dad, and growing up, that's not what I had. I didn't have a mom, dad in a house, whether they moved around a lot or not, but it wasn't that. It was always just me and my siblings. A lot of the times Belinda was always gone. That was my adopted mom, Belinda was her name. She was always gone. We was caught stealing food from stores many a time because she wasn't really ever there to take care of us.
These folks, they adopt kids because they get some kind of financial benefits from it, right? I heard something like that. Is that something that you experienced?
I know with foster homes, yes, you get paid to take care of kids. And what's wild is you would think that kids are kind of equal pay, I guess.
Yeah.
But they're not. So they're ranked off of level of care system, and in the level of care system, the more severe the behaviors are, the little more money you get, which is not a lot. Because I had found out from one of my best foster moms ever, she she would always tell us, it's not a lot of pennies that we're getting for you. And she was great. She was the first, one of the first homes where I really got to feel what unconditional love was. Um, I had been outed by my French teacher in my freshman year of high school, and
You
my
I
foster
mean outed because of your
but yeah, because she called home and told them that I was gay and
yeah.
that I had was talking
What
to somebody.
what age
Did I know?
did you know you were gay? I remember when
Um,
I was a kid, there was kids from when we were real small that, they were flamboyant and stuff, and then
you
it was
kind of know.
obvious, right? They're like, I'm gay. I'm like, oh, really? We didn't know. So at
I
what age did you?
For me it was. I remember I was living with Belinda. We lived in Pasadena. I'd known because I was this boy that I liked, named Andrew or Arthur. I can't remember his name. It was an
Must
A.
not like him that much. I don't even remember his name.
A man. And what's crazy is years later, when I was like 16, I was put in a foster home where I ended up running into him, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is crazy." Um,
So
but
how old were you when you realized
I want to say maybe
the
like,
attraction?
oh, I was in grade school. By grade school, I mean below third grade. We were, I know I like boys because, I don't know, dude, it was, we were so beautiful. I just had to. And
Yeah.
I, I want to say it was like maybe first or second grade. I remember spelling words out
There you
on the
go.
mats in classroom.
Uh-huh.
And that was like my first, like, I had always got like people had always said, "Oh, he's gay, he's gay, he's gay," and growing up, you don't really know what you think it's bad because people say, "Oh, he's gay," or that you get teased for. You don't really ever realize what it is until you get older. Um, and it's not like today's day and age where people are open
Yeah.
and talk about things. Back then, it was no, you don't talk about it. You don't.
Yeah,
You
you're
know,
what, 31 you said? 32?
31.
31.
Yeah. And so back then it wasn't like it was, oh, hey, that's cool. That's okay. Like, you're fine.
It's like,
Back
yeah.
then it was, oh, no, you're gay. Oh, you're gay. Like,
Yeah.
and so that does a lot to you growing up too, because you're like, oh, well, there's something wrong with me.
Gotta hide it.
And yeah, and then all that storing of your emotions and your thoughts and feelings, everything that you have to hold in and not show, um, it does something to you to where you just, it's kind of harder to open up now to people because you open up to somebody and then they're like, oh, we don't judge, or oh, it's fine. I've been to church where I was a worship leader and I got asked to step down because I was super gay, and I was like, I'm still learning. I want to, like,
Yeah.
so it makes you not want to,
Yeah.
go back. And I didn't go back to church after that. I mean, I was introduced to God. A lot of my foster homes, they'd gone to church, but
Yeah,
as a
that's a
kid, you
good
don't
place.
really
Okay,
experience
so
stuff.
let's back up. So you went to foster care home, and then you said you got outed, right? So what happened with that?
My foster mom, she was nice about it. She sat me down. I came home.
Was she a Christian or
She was Miss Georgia Gistar, but I will
passed?
never forget.
Did she pass? You say she was, as if
She 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 passed
Okay.
a couple years ago. She had colon cancer,
Okay.
or is it colon cancer? Yeah, colon cancer. I actually went to go see her when she was in the hospital, and I went to the viewing,
Yeah,
the body viewing.
or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe she was cremated. Um,
So what'd she say when she sat you down?
Man, I remember that day I came home from school. I walked in. We lived at 803 Bayland in Houston. It was a little, big old yellow home. All the kids at school knew that was a foster kid home. They called it the orphanage. I was like, there's no such thing as an orphanage nowadays, but okay. I walked inside. She was sitting there with Papa, her husband, Raymond, and they said, sit down, Josh. And anytime you get home, it's always sit down. You know
Yeah.
you're in trouble. You just know. And I thought I was in trouble because, well, I didn't really do anything wrong to get in trouble. I mean, other than maybe skip a couple classes here and there because I didn't like the teachers. I also didn't like going in there. And so she sat me down and she said, hey, you have anything you want to tell us? And I was like, no, I'm doing good, I guess. Am I not? Now, back then we would have to take these reports to the teachers for our foster parents, and they would sign off saying we were there and we were good, and and I would always forge my teachers because I didn't want to take the paper to them. And so my sister or my foster mom was like, uh, she goes, you have anything you want to tell us? And I thought to myself, dang, they know that I've been filling out my own sheets. And she goes, anything in French? And I go, oh, French was hard for me. It was difficult. I didn't want to learn Spanish, so I thought, oh yeah, I'm struggling. I said, yeah, it's hard. She goes, okay. She goes, you're not gay? You don't got a boyfriend? And I go, no. And my face just, everything in my body just fell out of me, and it was like I was being snatched out of my own body because I'd never had this happen to me. I never talked about it with any of my foster parents. And so, and everybody knew in foster care, you don't talk about it because you get labeled as a gay child on paper.
Oh.
And then when you become adopted, everything always, that's in your file.
Yeah.
You're a gay kid. And now when you go to another foster home or if you get moved, you're labeled as a gay kid. Can we place a gay kid there? So I was like, no, I'm not gay.
But how did they find out?
Because the French teacher, I had a boyfriend, and he sat behind me in French, and we were passing notes to one another, and she came over and she said something to us, and at that time I remember I was on ADHD medicine and I didn't want to be on them, so I wouldn't take the medicine, and with that came my mouth. Like, I've always been vocal about a lot of stuff. And back then, you're just vocal and ignorant. And so I don't know what I said to her, but she ended up calling my foster parents and telling them that it was a disruption for the class and I was disrupting Cristobal, which is true. But my foster mom said, so you're not in French telling people you're gay, you had a boyfriend, and I said no. And she goes, oh, okay. And she got up and just left. That was the end of the conversation. And I remember thinking, oh my God, they know. Like, they know now. They've clearly had a conversation with my teacher. They know. And so later that week, I actually came home again and I told her, hey, can I talk to you, Nana? And she was like, what's up, baby? And she said, come in my room. And so I sat on her bed in her room and she was sitting there reading she always read her Bible, always in bed with her Bible, her journal, pen, and coffee on the little nightstand beside her. And she said, what's up? And she closed it up and I said, I have to tell you something. And she was like, okay, what is it, babe? I was like, I'm gay. You're right. And she goes, I know. And I was like, okay. She goes, we know. She goes, your teacher done called and told us. And she goes, nah, that's not in her business, so I'm going to handle that. And she did handle it. But she told me there's nothing wrong with me. Like, Josh, you're okay. You're fine.
Yeah.
And did it change everything in the household? Yes. I feel like I got special treatment from her.
But she became protective?
Yeah, much more. And in fact, they ended up removing a couple of the boys from the home because she asked me, Josh, are they picking on you because you're gay? Do they know? Because they went to school with me. And I was like, yes. And she was like, okay. And later that week, they were gone.
Dang.
And I was like, wow. She really had my best interest in her heart, and I ended up getting adopted, well, in the process of being adopted from that placement. And after I ended up leaving, they ended up stop fostering. So that was actually the last I had seen her for a long time. But it was really a turning point of, okay, people know now. She loved me still. Like, I'm okay.
Yeah.
She told me God still loves you.
Yeah.
She was like, don't listen to what other people say. God still loves you. She said, I love you. She goes, if people don't love you, then they're just not for you, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And I didn't learn the meaning of all that, like, until my, like, adult years, you know? Because growing up in the system, you want people to like you. You want to please people. You want to be accepted because you don't have anything. You don't have a family. You don't have what other people have. And you want that at some point. And that very same year, I was in the process of being adopted by the Thompsons. They took me to a church called Hosanna. Really nice church. The worship was unlike anything you've ever felt. Like, the first time I remember going there, and I want to say he was a Scottish guy from Scotland or whatever, and they sing a lot of Hillsong songs, and one of them was "Till I See You" by Hillsong, and "Lead Me to the Cross," and those really was like opened my heart to something that I wanted to do. That was my point of saying, oh, I want to do that. I want to sing on stage and give worship and worship with others.
Let me ask you something. So then it sounds to me like from when you were little, for the most part, people around you that were doing a lot of foster care were pretty much Christians, right? So it was just something that was around you a lot, or was there a point where you got introduced to who Jesus was and it took a little bit of time for you to understand it? Or was it like, for me, we were going to church since I was a kid. I left home when I was real young and I did my own thing. And then finally I came back around to Christ when I went through a bunch of stuff, but it was always something that was around me. I knew who God was. I always feared God. I just rebelled and I did my own thing. You know what I mean? Did you have Jesus in your life for as far back as you remember, or is there a point where, you were introduced to him to a foster parent? Hard to remember.
So I can actually remember one of my first church experiences.
Okay. Tell me about that, and then you could jump back to the Hillsong thing you were telling me about.
So one of my first church experiences was when I was adopted with Belinda.
She was a big influence on you.
In so many different ways. Yes.
Okay.
We lived out near Conroe, Huntsville area. We lived in a mobile home park.
I don't know where that is.
And it's like north of Houston.
Okay.
And we lived in a mobile home park, and like I said, she was always gone. There was, 5 kids, 2 her biological, and then 3 of us.
Yeah.
And she was always gone. She was working at the Saltwater Steakhouse. Some steakhouse she worked at.
Steakhouses, yeah.
And I remember there was a white van that was driving around the neighborhood picking up kids, not like snatching them up, but like they were going to a church.
Snatching them kids up.
and one of the kids had told us about it and was like, hey, you guys come, we're going to church. And so we ended up going. I mean, we didn't have to ask for permission because she was never there. And our oldest adopted sibling, Jason, was like 15, 16. So we ended up going. And I remember like the song, Open the Eyes of My Heart, Lord. And it was, a cool, they talked about Jesus. who he was, and I remember even then the music was like, oh, this is cool. But I didn't know who he was. I knew of him, and from that moment, when I think about it today, I can see every part of my life that God has had a hand in to keep me safe and to help mold me into who I am today.
Yeah.
Whether it's, the over 40 different foster homes that I've been in, there were homes to where I remember Miss Shavela Davis. She, most of my foster homes had, I think like 98% of them were Black foster homes. So we went to Baptist churches,
Okay.
a lot of that. So I would go. I didn't really ever have a relationship with God when I think about it now. But I picked up on something, whether it be a story, someone else's testimony, and I remember thinking, oh wow, that's cool. Like, you overcame that, or oh, that's nice. Like, so God has kind of always been in my life somewhere, doing things behind, behind the curtains, shielding me from a lot. I think about all the hurt and pain and trauma that I have been through, and yet here I am still breathing and moving because
happy
of God. And I'd say I'm pretty happy.
We all have pain in our lives, struggles, but you're happy. When I met you, I was like, I was a happy guy. And I don't mean happy, I just mean happy.
Oh yeah. I think about it, and even when I talk to people, I mean, people at work today and stuff, and they'll tell me that, I'm going through something, and I say, give it to God.
Yeah.
Give it to God, because it's really all you can do. And once you give it to Him, it's off of your shoulders. And people think I'm joking about it. Even on Xbox, I say, give it to God, bro. Just give it to Him. And
I don't think people understand what that means. It's hard. I had to, being the guy I am, and me leaving home at a young age and doing my own thing. I've been at home since I was like 15, 16. I'm out of here, right? And with that, and the way my dad is, or was, he passed, but my dad is very much like a man's man. Like, I'll fix it, I'll do it, I'll overcome it. I'm a warrior, right? So he raised me, my brother's that way. So I had this attitude of, I'll just solve it on my own. When I said I rebelled, oh, hold on a second. What is this? Upgrade. Hold on. We'll do it later. Upgrade. Anyways, sorry. This damn thing is talking to me. Anyways, let's see how much time we got left. Okay, we got 10 minutes left. When I say I rebelled, it wasn't like I don't believe in God. It was more of I'm not going to go crying to God. I could do it on my own. He's got bigger problems than me. He doesn't need me. He doesn't, I don't need him. I can fix it on my own. I'm not a little bitch, like that type of mentality. That's how I used to think. I'm not a little bitch. I can handle it on my own. And what I realized is, like, because I was doing things on my own, I was screwing everything up. On the outside, people were like, oh, Ed's doing well. We were making money, all this stuff. But inside, it was bad, man. And then finally, God knocked me to my knees, and I realized, I always tell us to people, it's like there's 4 things I focus on, right? Number 1, my relationship with God. Number 2 is being healthy, taking care of myself. Number 3 is working hard. Like, my work ethic, I have to work hard. Number 4, loving my family. That is cross-generational, cross-cultural. All 4 of those things are good no matter where you are, what you're doing. Loving your family, taking care of your health, and working hard and loving God. So I said, once I learned, it took 3 years of, God, tell me what to do, I'll do it. Tell me what to do, I'll do it. Tell me what to do, I do it. To me saying, God, you do it for me. I'm just going to focus on these things. So that when you say it's hard, I know, man. I went through 3 years of like having to submit, and I didn't know how because I've never submitted. So I get it, brother. It's tough. But go ahead.
That's crazy. You say you're.
I didn't mean to take over. My bad.
No. That's cool, because I've never thought of people's mindset like that when their relationship to God. I've always thought, like growing up, when I started to have a relationship here and there, dabble there, it was always, God, this is what I want because I didn't have it when I was a kid. Go ahead and provide it for me. And God was gonna move mountains in front of me with my eyes wide open. So,
Yeah.
and that's not how it is, you know. Um, that I've learned.
Yeah.
When God is giving you something, God gives you choices, and God,
Yeah.
is gonna put things in front of you, but you have to want it. You have to go make those. It's not just him moving mountains by himself.
Let me, you know what you're saying too, there's something I can add to that. So like my brother's going through, my older brother's going through some stuff, his wife, it's a mess. And I told him, like, look, man, you got all these plans of what you want to do, and you're hoping God puts his stamp of approval on it. And you're hitting all these struggles. You don't know, did God give me this struggle? Did I create this struggle? Where's this struggle coming from? I said, forget all that. Forget about your plans. Forget about all that stuff. Just do those 4 things I told you, because you need to do those. You need to love your family. I was like, do that, and just ask God to make it. Give you, present people to you. Just narrow your focus. That way, when something gets presented to you, you know you didn't. You're not the one that dug that thing up. God is presenting you with opportunities. So then you go ahead and pursue those opportunities. God will make it obvious. He'll let you know, I want you to go in this direction. He'll make it obvious. So when you start heading down that direction God gave you, if you do encounter some kind of struggle, you know that God has removed all the other struggles. And if there's a struggle there, God left that for you. So the best thing you could do is say, thank you for the struggle, God. I know you put this in front of me because I'm not pursuing my needs. I'm pursuing what you want. So if there's a struggle,
Yeah.
it's there to make me stronger, is there to make me wiser, instead of like my brother's doing, I want to do the X, Y, and Z. I'll have a million different plans. Bro, you're creating a bunch of problems that God did not create for you. Those are God's giving me the struggles. No, he's not. That's your plan you created. That's your crazy idea that you're pursuing. Stop it. Just focus on the very basic, and God will carry you through that. And like for me, it was really hard to let go of that control of my life. But once I did, man, there's a peace and confidence. No matter what happens, I'm like, it's okay. I know I'm going in the right direction. And this problem right here, I'm excited. Thank you, God. Thank you for the struggle you gave me, because I know you picked the struggles perfectly for me. And when I overcome, I know I'm going to be a lot better because you gave it to me. So that's what I want to add to that.
Oh yeah, I like that. I like that view on
Yeah.
and how it is, because it is.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, now that I'm saying I'm old, but as I get older, I see more, and I talk about my relationship with God with my sister, because she has a really good relationship with God, and she's. I want to be as much. I'd like my relationship to be God with God to be where hers is with God. Like, it's inspiring. It's amazing, and that is where I aim to be at.
Yeah.